Welcome back to Banter and Beauty Bosses. I'm your host, Sami Pelling, and I'm with my amazing co-host, Emma Thomas. Whether you're vibing with us on Spotify or watching us on YouTube, welcome to the place where beauty meets business, minus the fluff. This podcast is all about straight up strategy, honest chats, and a sprinkle of laughter for beauty bosses who are done with playing it small. But before we spill the tea, make sure you hit that subscribe button and leave us a comment. It takes 2 seconds and helps us appear in front of more fierce beauty entrepreneurs just like you. All right, babe. Are you ready to dive in?
Hey, yes. I hope you were asking me, not the audience.
I'll get it right one day.
Doesn't matter. That's what it's all about, a bit of banter.
Yeah.
So welcome, everybody. We are in a new tax year, which is exciting. For some people, it's that fresh start challenge where you can just start over again, beginning of April. What happened last year has happened. If you're mega organised, you can start doing your tax return already, which I highly recommend. Send it all across to your accountant if that's who you're using. Definitely get that sorted. But other than that, yeah, we're in a new tax year. So exciting times. What are you planning? What is your plan for the next year upcoming? Now, this has made me and Sami have a little chat today. Going into a new tax year has made us talk about prices. Surprise, surprise. Basically, Sami and I were having a little chat earlier off the video and recorded. We're just having a little natter like we normally do about what we've been up to, etc., etc. And Sami came up with quite an interesting story, which then led to us talking. So, do you want to let us know about your little story, Sami?
So I was just scrolling on my Instagram as I do, and it came up on this like lady's business, and she does chocolates. So she's creates like the personalized chocolate bars and things like that, and it's her business, and she's doing really, really well with it. But she put a post on, and it was a video of her with this massive bag of chocolate, and it was a comparison of how much she paid back in, was it 2014? So this massive 5 kilo bag was $49.99. 11 years later, it is now, for that same bag, £172. That same bag. So it's gone up by pretty much about 300%, like the price of it. And then people will comment and people will make assumptions of like, oh my God, I can't believe you're making so much money now and you'll put your prices up too high. And actually, they're like literally working on like the smallest margins because they're literally covering the costs and not paying themselves enough because they think to themselves, if we charge too much now, we're not going to then sell anything. So it was quite interesting to see like the mindset of it as well. You put your prices up, oh my God, people aren't going to buy it. But if the quality is good and it's personalized and etc. But it was the comparison to like a bespoke personal brand to like these big massive corporations that they can charge that bit less, but then you got shrinkflation in that, so they're charging more for a smaller product and no one bats an eyelid. How is that?
Yeah, I know, because nobody notices, do they? It's only when you're like eating them that you're like, oh my goodness, where did that go?
Why was my Mars bar this big and now it's this big?
Oh my goodness. I remember with a Mars bar, there's plenty of other chocolate bars that I love, but I remember with a Mars bar, you would eat one and you would feel physically sick, wouldn't you? And I'm a chocoholic, but I would even feel physically sick. Nowadays, they look like a bloody treat size. They're
Yeah,
tiny.
literally like a mouthful, and you're like, is that it?
Yeah, it's quite scary,
I've got to
actually.
get the twin pack now just to get the same size.
And do you remember the advertising for Yorkie? Like, I don't think they could advertise it
Yeah,
this way, but
advertised just for men.
just for men because it was so big. I had a Yorkie not long ago and I was like, well, what happened to this?
Yeah, everything's got so much smaller, but the prices of everything's gone up. I mean, I did a food shop last week, and it was just like a bog standard weekly food shop. Nothing extraordinary in there. £140.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Like that is ridiculous. And you look at the basket or you look at the trolley and you go,
Don't.
Jesus, I haven't even like bought any. I've bought hardly anything, but yet
Yeah.
it's the price of your shopping's gone up by nearly 50%, I think.
Definitely. Like we're a small household. We've only got Ellis, who's 6, and at the moment he's at school, so he has hot meals at school. So evening, dinner time, he doesn't eat a lot. He'll have like sandwiches or our favourite, which is a cracker plate, which is like crackers, cheese, ham, grapes, etc., etc. So he doesn't eat loads. He doesn't need a lot of food. COVID, we were getting food deliveries because I was one of the very lucky people that had an annual delivery pass just before COVID hit. I think I booked it in the January, and it was only because he was 1. And my husband Craig was moaning about the cost of our shopping. And I remember saying to him, but the thing is, I've got a 1-year-old and I can't go and do a full shop anywhere. So I'm having to get a bit from here and a bit there. So we made the decision to have a delivery pass. And the minimum order was 40 quid. And do you know what? I used to struggle to make my minimum order of 40 quid. So I would make sure that I put, like, if it was just below, I'd maybe put a second deodorant on or something like that, something that could just go in my cupboard, or another bottle of bleach. Whereas now, like, you're right, last week I had an online delivery. We now go to the butcher for our meat, so it's meat free, and my delivery last week was 92 quid. So such a big difference, such a massive difference. And how can people afford this? And people's pay isn't in line with that. And obviously most of us watching this are small businesses. My pay hasn't gone up. And I like to think that I'm pretty successful. I'm busy. I'm fully booked all the time. But my pay hasn't gone up to cover those costs. So, how are people doing it? How do people afford it? It's quite scary, really.
I think it is, like, obviously national minimum wage has gone up and that, but when I was watching the news the other day, and it was saying how, like, the household bills and stuff are all going up again as well, and it's like, okay, so you put the minimum wage up, so then everything else goes up, and you're like,
Yeah.
well, you're back to square one again, aren't you, really?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, basically. I mean, in one way, we're lucky because we are sole traders. So, like, on my list of things, again, I was laughing with Sami earlier about my list of what I want to do because I love a list and I love my plans. And one of them was, how much more do I need each month? So we're at the start of a new tax year, and it's about how much more do I need, but also how much more do I want. So now I'm in the position where I'm starting to look at what I want to earn each month, what my take home was last year isn't what I want it to be this year. I want to increase it. I want to make sure that by the end of this tax year that I'm earning more money to try and cover these bills. So yeah, that for me now is how much more do I need to earn each month, which means then I will now start looking at that and planning my income rises. So like my price increases. I'll have 2 a year, and I'll start planning those to make sure that I can reach what target I want. But aside from that, now I'm also now starting to think about other things, like what else can I add in to make my business more profitable. So it's definitely worth doing that yourself as well, because this is going to be a tough year. I think it's going to be really tough.
I think so many things. I mean, like, I see people that obviously still now haven't put their prices up, that didn't put their price up last April with everybody else. And I look at it and I'm like, you're literally not getting paid. You're literally working for free. And it's like, how do you survive like that? Like, I'm busy. I'm always busy. I have my little gaps now, which I try and do so that I can get the other stuff done in the house, or, do this and things like that. But I can hear sirens.
Sorry.
Sirens. It's not me. It was me. I didn't do
Just
nothing.
imagine you're doing this podcast and suddenly some burly like policemen come in and drag me out.
A bit like they did on adolescence. And you're like, but is
Sorry,
sorry, it just got sidetracked
train of
there.
thought.
But no, I do. I think it's so hard for us as a solo entrepreneur, as we are, to like make sure that we are earning enough. So I like that. How much do you need at the end of the month to cover all your bills and
Yeah,
some?
yeah, because it will always change, and it is about making sure that you're happy in your work environment. And actually, for a lot of us, you've got to think about what your motivation is. Like, why did you do this job? I mean, when I went into beauty therapy, I didn't do it to get rich because, to be perfectly honest, it was massively crap pay back then. And not many people had a business. So I never did it for money. I did it because it was just the path that I wanted to be on. I wanted to look after people. I wanted to like be in that one-to-one environment. And I still do. But now I've got a mortgage to pay, and I've got a child who likes to go to swimming, and he likes to do beavers and Gaelic football and all these other things. And he has friends who've got birthday parties. So my income needs to cover a level in my life that I'm happy with. And this is something we talk about quite a lot. It's not just about what you should be charging, as in like what so-and-so down the road is charging. It's about what you need in your life to make your business work for you. So if I don't charge enough, then I'm not going to get paid enough, and I'm not going to earn enough to cover all of those things that I want to cover. I may as well go and work somewhere else. So you've got to make it work for you in your business, because I guarantee the big supermarkets aren't considering whether you can afford to buy that product. They're not going to be worrying about you because they know people will have to. It's a bit of a unity thing, isn't there, really? Like, you stand united, and like bread suppliers are all, a loaf of bread is pretty much the same price wherever you go. But so yeah, I think, think you got to think big, don't think small. Make sure you know what you need to earn.
I think that's spot on. That's
Thank
literally
you.
spot on. Well done.
I felt like I rambled a bit there though, but
Rambled, but in a good way. I think sometimes you need to just get it off your chest.
I did. That's what it was. I was just like, I think that's what happened.
No, I think now that we're in April, it's like we've got so much coming up. We've got obviously Easter coming up. Are you a working mum that needs to take time off for your kids over Easter holidays? Do you have childcare? Do you not have childcare? How do you like work this? Like, for me, I'm literally taking Easter weekend off because my kids are older. I mean, they're what, 10 and 13. So
No.
I don't need to like look after them the entire time, if that makes sense. I can be in the house working and they can do as they please. So because I work from home, it makes life a lot easier for me, and I haven't got to think, oh God, I've got to go to work because I work from home. The kids do what they want, they go out with their friends, they're not so reliant. Whereas when you've got the younger ones, I remember 11 years ago, like with little tiny children, and I'm thinking like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? How am I going to get my
Yeah,
clients in, as well as how am I going to pay my bills? Trying to fit it all round the kids is really hard. And I completely get that. But now mine are older, I can be a bit more flexible. Like this half term, I'm working most of it. I have got some days off with them, etc. But like May half term, I've taken the whole week off. Having that flexibility, but also making sure that I'm working enough to still cover the cost of everything prior so that I can have that week off without going, oh my God, I'm not getting paid.
definitely.
Always making sure that you have, like, I think, yeah, yesterday I literally was booking in a client. We've booked till January. We've booked all of our appointments up until
Amazing.
January, and she comes every 4 weeks just so that she knows, right, she's going on holiday. So we made sure we booked up to her holiday. And then she was like, well, we might as well go up till Christmas while we're here. And then she got her Christmas one in. And then she went, well, I might as well put January one in just so we're up till then. I ain't got to worry about
Good.
it. I was like, do you know what? That's fine. But it also means that I've already put in my dates that I'm off. And then also, I know what's predicted. Like, I know
Yeah,
how much money I'm going to be getting each month because I've booked all my clients in advance so that then I know what's coming in. And then I go, I've got like a quieter week on that week. Right. I need to push now. I need to advertise I've still got them ones available or whatever. And then all of a sudden you're like, people asking you, oh, can you fit me in tomorrow? No, because I've had people booked up for months in advance. And I see it sometimes where people literally will book the following week. I'm like, how do you work like that? How can you work not knowing what you've got for the rest of the month? Just make sure you're booking people in. Like, I couldn't rely on walk-ins. Like, imagine that,
not
me
me.
having walk-ins at my house. Hello, just come to get my nails done.
Mm,
Like,
yeah,
oh, sorry,
but
I'm just
this,
having my lunch or something. You're like, it just wouldn't
yeah,
work.
I made a boo-boo last week talking about that actually.
No.
So I've got an online booking system like most of us have now. And you look at your online booking system and you just sort of work with what's on the day. I don't expect to get new people booking on that day. Generally, I'm fully booked, bar the odd like 15-minute gap here or there. So last Friday, I think I had somebody till 11:15, then I had a 15-minute gap, 11:15 to 11:30, and then I had 11:30 client. So about 11:28, I went downstairs to get my 11:30 client, and there was somebody else sat there, another of my clients who I know anyway, and she was like, oh, hi Emma, I booked in with you. And I was like, oh, are you? She said, yeah, I've just booked in about half an hour ago. And I was like, oh, okay. So then I ended up running like 10, 15 minutes late because she was booked in with me at 11:15 in my booking diary, but I never knew. I didn't even look. So yeah, I cocked up with that, by the way. But yeah, I mean, you don't often get walk-ins, do you? It's like planning normally.
Can you on your system have it so that they can only book into a certain point?
I don't know, probably, but I've never explored it.
Because like people can't book online, uh, like within the 24-hour period. So I know so that people can't do that because yeah, that would
Yeah,
really throw you off. If you've then
I'm gonna
gone,
write that down.
yeah, check your booking system because I've got it on mine, so like people online can't book 24 hours prior. Well,
I
they can
will
book
do
up to
that.
24 hours before, basically, so that when I wake up in the morning, my diary's not going to change for that day because I know then what's happening. Because otherwise, imagine if I, like, in my head, I've gone, oh, do you know what? I've got an hour there. I'm actually
Yeah,
going to go for a walk.
yeah. I mean, I can close my diary down, which I do normally. So if I did have an hour, I'd be like, right, do you know what? No one's going to book it. I'm going to bring my laptop to work and I'm going to do this, this, and this. But when it was a 15-minute gap, I'd never even thought to do anything about it. But yeah, I will do that, Sammy. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
I have all these things in my head, and I'm like, oh, yes, make sure you do that. Make your life easier.
yes, definitely. But you know what? Sorry, I know we've gone off on a tangent here.
Mhm.
On my list, I've got a list of things to talk about here. One of the things, like we briefly touched on the fact that the bigger companies can offer better discounts because, because they can bulk buy. Whereas us as our small businesses, we can bulk buy, and it's really worth at this point now. We're in a new tax year, planning to ensure that you've got a cash flow throughout the year. Because what you'll find is most of the companies that you will buy from, most of either the manufacturers or the distributors in the UK, will have discounts on. And when they have their discounts, grab them and bulk buy when you can. All right. So just a little tip for you. There's a lot of brands out there that always have sales. So all VAT free days, bulk buy, plan for them, start putting your plan in for the year ahead. But I mean, that isn't what I was going to say, but I'm adding that now. So the big companies, here we go. So the big companies can buy in bulk, which means that they can get a better price. And that better price then gets passed on part of it to the consumer, which is what we can't do. But I want to share a story with you about one of my clients who has recently bought a product from the internet. And it's a really good product, really good brand, by the way. So this is I'm not brand bashing. It's an excellent product. She bought it from the internet for convenience, actually, but it was cheaper. And she came in to me today and I looked at her skin and I was like, she said, have you seen my eyebrows? Have you seen what's going on? And I was like, have you had a peel or something? She basically, her skin looked as though she'd had like a chemical peel. And she said, no, I have been using this hair care products. And I think, like, I've looked at it and I've just been using it. And she said, I always read the directions. She said, but I've missed something, which is that basically it tells her that because of some of the ingredients, she needs to treat her hair in a similar way to if she had had like a glycolic acid peel or any type of chemical peel. So she needs to be aware of the sun and aware of heat and that type of thing. And what has basically happened is some of that product has got onto her skin. Now, she will use on her skin, she will use different types of acids anyway. So it could have been a combination of a residue from a hair care, plus the weather's got better, plus the use of whatever she uses on her skin. And basically, she's ended up with like her forehead has just basically peeled. And even at one point on Friday, she said it was bleeding. So what
God.
I've seen her today from Friday, this happened. So she's bought it cheaper because somebody can sell it cheaper. But what would have happened if she'd bought that from her hair salon? Her hairdresser would have charged more, but they would have charged her for the value and the expertise that they can give. So she would have bought it from her hairdresser, and her hairdresser would have said, do you know what? Just so you know, this is an amazing product. However, make sure that you avoid the sun. Make sure you do this. They would have given her clear after instructions. So we aren't competing with these big brands that can do it cheap. We're not competing with them because we've got something different to what the internet's got, and we've got our expertise and our personal aftercare. We've got that knowledge of what our client gets up to. We know whether they're a sunbather or not. So we can give them the information, and actually it is about value. So remember that even though someone's charging less than you are for the same thing, work on what's valuable, and hopefully your clients won't get any issues like my poor lady did.
I suppose knowledge is power, isn't it? It's like
Yeah, definitely.
I've used products before, like I've bought from the hairdressers, and they're like, right, this is how you use it. Make sure you do this at this stage of your hair. journey, or like, like, right, you need to shampoo twice and then condition, but make sure you leave it on for this amount of time, otherwise you're not going to get the full effects, things like that. Not everyone's going to read the back of the bottle.
No, they're
I mean,
not.
I remember back in the day that, like, when we didn't have phones all the time, and we would like sit on the loo, and you're like, oh, what's this cleaning product? Let's read the back of it because it's the only thing you could do. Like, I just think, like, people don't do that as much anymore. People don't just sit there. I mean, some people do. Some people will read the back of everything because they want to see exactly what chemicals are in it, what products are in it. Is it silicone free? Is it not? They want to know what pathogens are in it.
Yeah.
But not everyone does. So yeah, I think buying cheap doesn't always. Buy cheap, buy twice.
Yes, that's my husband always says that to me about what is it? Measure. It's about the measure, isn't it? Measure twice, or so I don't know. He always goes
And
mad
make
because I'm
sure that
rubbish
it's
at
right the
measuring.
first time.
Yeah, I'm rubbish. I hate measuring stuff. Hate it. I always get it wrong. And then I always get in trouble because he leaves those jobs to me. So, like, we need floor tiles at the moment. And I said to him on the phone today, how much do we need? He said, well, between 16 and 20 square metre. And I'm like, well, what is it?
15 or 20.
Which one
Which one do
is
you
it?
want? Do you want
He said,
18?
well, I know. I'm like, what am I going to actually put down? And he's like, well, somewhere in between. I'm like, I just don't know what to do. That's why I need to go and speak to the tile man. Say to him,
This is the size of the room. How many do I need?
yes, yes, that's what I need to do actually. So, like, listen to my own advice here. But yeah, new tax year, things that you can do now to help your business plan, figure out what you need in your business to not only keep you going, but what you want to make your business worthwhile to you. Start planning it now. Put your price increases in your diary now so you know when you're going to increase so you can work towards them. It makes you feel a lot easier when you know it's happening on this date rather than thinking, I'm going to do a price increase next month and then getting panicky because you haven't told anybody. So that's something you can be
Always make
doing.
sure you tell people. Make sure you
Yes,
give them as much notice as you can as well, because then they can align with what they're like. You don't want to spring it on them. By the way, tomorrow the price goes up. They're
yes.
not going to go. That's not going to go down well.
It's not at all. So, yeah, make your plans now, plan your price increases, figure out what you're going to do to counteract some of the price hikes that we're all having in the industry and everybody else is and everything. Don't do it too late either, because honestly, you don't want your business sucking up those extra costs, because all that means for you is it's less profit. And less profit means you don't get paid so much, which makes every day feel more challenging.
You get burnout.
You get burnout, you get overwhelmed, then you feel like you have to do more clients, and it's a bad cycle. So, yeah, this is the time now. Make the plans now. Let's beat the price hikes, and don't be scared of them either. If you're charging more than somebody else, make sure that your clients recognise it's because of the value that you're offering and the expertise you're offering as well.
That is brilliant advice.
Thank you. That's all I've got to say.
I'm just trying to think of what else. What else I was going to talk about. What was it? Yeah, it was about this is what is the fact that 47% of nail businesses reported more bookings this year, but 46% are battling more no-shows and cancellations. So it was about making sure that you have all your policies in place so that you're making sure you've got your deposits, you've got cancellation policies, you're communicating with your clients like, this is why this is in place, because if you cancel me 20 minutes before you don't show up, I can't fill that space. But it's making sure that your business is still profitable. And but yeah, they're saying basically in the media that where was it? Well, let me find it. Let me find it. What they said. It was, where is it? Uh, Yes, no, can't find it. Yeah, recent data indicates that 47% of nail businesses reported an increase in treatment bookings compared to the previous year, demonstrating resilience in the sector. However, challenges persist, with 46% of businesses experience a rise in last-minute cancellations and no-shows. Implementing deposits and clear cancellation policies is recommended to safeguard your revenue. That was one of the things I've seen, and it is very true. If I didn't have that in place, oh my God, like the amount of people I remember in the beginning, and I didn't have deposits and I didn't have an online booking system, and like people would book with you and like completely ghost you, and you're like, I now don't have a contact number, or I don't have something to be able to follow up. Whereas when you have a deposits in place and you have like an online system that sends them the cancellation policy. By booking this appointment, you're agreeing to my terms and conditions, basically, to say that you are going to pay your 50% deposit or your 100% deposit, depending on whether you're a no-show or like last minute cancellation. But as long as you make it visible and your clients are aware of this situation, you're protecting your business. Because if they do cancel, obviously you've got to have a heart at the same time. Like if sometimes life happens and some things happen and they can't be dealt with, like you can't change the fact that someone's been rushed to hospital. You're going to have to be a little bit more lenient because otherwise you may lose a client by not having a heart, basically. Like I've ended up gaining a client because of a situation like that, where she'd been going to them for 3 years. First time she's had to cancel on the day because she's paid her deposit and everything. She's cancelled on the day, or the day, no, it was she cancelled and said, look, can we reschedule to next week? I've got to take my daughter to the hospital. And they said, yeah, no problem, but you're going to have to pay a new deposit.
Oh, that's
So
harsh.
to move her appointment, with the 24 hours notice, they were still going to take the deposit. And she was like, no,
I'm
like,
sure that's not right.
like it's a different circumstance. She's never done it before. It's just a first time offence sort of thing. And it was a case of she's then gone somewhere else purely for the fact that they didn't respect her as a client. And I'm like, I couldn't do that. If someone genuinely had a genuine reason and it was in that time frame, I would just move it
Of course you would. Of course
because
you
I
would.
have heart.
Yeah, definitely.
Obviously, I am a business and I do need to still charge for people that do take the mick. But at the same time, you still need to be realistic and be like, I'm not going to take a 50% deposit off you and not just transfer it across. Like if I've had a client that's paid in full and they've given me 2 days notice, oh my God, I'm going to have to move. Have you got anything else this week? Because I've just had something come up or got a doctor's appointment or, certain appointments like doctors and dentists, take them.
Yeah.
They're so
So,
hard to get.
yeah, definitely. Totally with you.
Yeah, I went on a little tangent then, but it happens all the time.
Of course it does. And yeah, on that note,
Yes, we've got to go. We've got work to do.
we've got to do our clients too.
Yes. So anyway, thank you for listening. Thanks for watching. And if you found anything in today's episode useful, please drop us a comment and let us know if it's helped you at all or how it anything you'd want us to talk about in the
Yeah,
future as well. Let
definitely.
us know, and we will speak to you soon.
Fab. See you all.
See
Bye.
you later.